Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Sisterhood Unscripted. We're so excited for today's guest.
Hi.
Okay, so our friend Stormey Neilson is here today, and I'm gonna share a little bit about her bio, and then we'll jump in. So, Stormey Neilson is a transracial adoptee and a licensed clinical social worker. Stormey found interest in the social work field while obtaining her bachelor's at UVU. Though inspired by macro work, she found joy in providing individual therapy as she pursued her master's at the University of Utah. She has experience working with issues surrounding sexual abuse, physical abuse, identity surrounding adoption and race, traumas, depression, and other mood disorders. Stormey co-owns Focal Point, a growing mental health agency that largely serves BIPOC individuals and transracial adoptive families and individuals. She is a strong advocate for mental health and seeks to emphasize the intersections of mental health, race navigation, and adoption. She enjoys her work and hopes to bring awareness and validation to the transracial adoption conversations.
Okay.
Yay!
Yes, thank you for having me.
Oh my
Having me
gosh.
here.
I'm so excited because I've heard Stormy speak in different occasions and she just always has the best to say. Like I'm literally always taking notes. So I bet I'll be taking notes.
Thank
But
you.
I'm so glad we know you. I'm so glad that we've met and I'm really excited.
So how are you doing today?
I am good today. It's
Yeah.
been a rushed day, but it's finally settling. This is settling for
Okay.
me. So
Perfect.
I
I'm
can
glad.
sit down and not think about like work. Per
Yes.
se, so
No,
good.
for sure. So before we get started into our conversation, we just want to play a quick game. So it's just going to be a quick this or that therapist edition. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. So binge watching Netflix or journaling?
Netflix.
Netflix. I love that. And then family therapy or individual therapy?
I'm gonna say individual. Yeah.
Okay.
Less chaos.
Uh-huh. No, absolutely. Yeah. Nature walk or yoga?
Honestly, that might be a toss-up. I do enjoy yoga and I do enjoy nature, but I don't partake in either
Yeah.
at the rate I wish I did. So,
Okay. Fair. Absolutely. And then what about meditation or a nap?
a nap
A nap. Okay, me too. And then telehealth or in-person sessions?
in person all the way.
Okay. And then bubble bath or the gym?
I would say the gym.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks for sharing with us your quick thoughts.
So we're gonna start with some questions. We want to start light. So we want you to tell us about your hobbies, your interests, what you're into these days.
Okay. Hobbies and interests. I'm binge watching Love Island. Like,
Period. USA.
right there. Yes.
Yup.
But let's see, hobbies. I don't know. I honestly am just trying to enjoy like just my alone time and being my own space. I think I do a lot of work, so my hobbies are just like let me be home, watch my shows,
Yeah.
hang out with friends. Really trying to like simplify my life,
Yeah.
if you will.
Wait, what's your favorite couple? Who's your favorite couple?
Oh. So I'm really on Team Amaya at this point. For the
Period.
win.
Literally.
But I really do like Pepe and Iris.
Yeah. Really.
Iris is like, I don't know, she's kind of like your cutesy, sweetsy, like just simple, well put together person. And I think Pepe is honestly the same.
Yeah.
And so I do like them too.
Okay.
Yeah, it started out with like a friendship too.
So, we wanted to start talking also about like your background and your childhood. Yeah, paint that picture. You're adopted, and so we'd love to hear a little bit about what that experience was like. But yeah, paint us a picture of your childhood.
Okay, so as far as my childhood goes, so I'm one of 6 kids. All of us are adopted. You know, parents are white, kids are black. That's that transracial across race name of of transracial adoption. And so I grew up 4th child. I've got it's 3 girls, 3 boys, so we're boy girl boy girl boy girl, and that works. But like all of us are super close in age. Like it's 6 kids within 7 years. You know, so me and my brother are 7 months apart. My sister is 7 months older than him, and so it just all close.
Are you all bio-related?
No, none of us are biological.
Oh wow, okay.
So there's that factor. But yeah, I just grew up down Utah County, and that was life. Played a lot in our backyard, played a lot. I mean, we lived in a cul-de-sac, and so we were always outside just playing with the neighbors and around the neighborhood with the bikes and everything, and that was fun. I would say being outside during childhood was like a large chunk that I remember. And then
Yeah.
I think as we got older, you get more into video games and stuff. But yeah, school was fun and fine. It was growing up as one of very few Black people like in your classroom for sure. I guess, junior high, I think there was, I knew everybody that was Black in junior high because some of them were like family friends through also that route of adoption. And then high school, I think there was like 11 to 13 of us at one given point during school. But that was like my junior year, right? So we had like the sophomores, some of the few Black kids that were sophomores, and then like the seniors, and then ourselves. And that was good. I think the girls, as Black girls, like we all knew who each other were. We didn't always hang out. We all had different friend groups, but there was times where we did all gather together, and so that was really fun too. But I would say my childhood was good overall. Like we didn't do anything like too crazy. And then later on, my parents did separate, and that changed the whole family dynamic, of course, and moved some things around, which was challenging in its own ways. But we all like landed on our feet, so that's good.
So I have a couple of questions, and maybe you guys do too. One is, do you feel like you felt strong in your identity as a Black woman, a Black girl? And then, do you feel like there was any trauma at all growing up? I mean, I'm sure everybody can say yes, but it's giving like everything was smooth sailing, and maybe it was. No. Okay.
Smooth sailing is a lie.
Okay.
No. So as far as just like my identity as a Black woman, I don't think like growing up, our parents would take us to different like Black History Month things. I know BYU always does their stuff, so I do remember going to those type things. And like I don't know if we ever went to Genesis, or at least maybe their Christmas party. I don't recall actually sitting at Genesis like for church. So, but we did do certain things. My mom did try to, bring some culture into the home. One of the things that I got as far as like Christmas stuff that got passed down, we always had a white Christmas tree growing up, and my brother got that, but like we had these like little ceramic like Black Santa heads and all the Black angels and all the things. Like I have all those things. And so that was something that was just like expected at Christmas time. Everything was like all Black, everything. But like this journey of like what it means to be a Black woman and all that stuff, that is one thing that I realized in adulthood was like a gap for me. Like even having this like auntie figure, like kind of like, there was one year, I think it was like a year and a half ago, where I was in the spirit spot where it was this weird like grief of like, I wished I would have had that. So that when things are like becoming challenging simply because I am a Black woman, that I would have kind of known how to deal with them and navigate them. But different jobs, and this is post high school, but like different jobs, like always gravitated to or connected with somebody in the space that was Black. And so I had this one job working at a daycare, and there was this woman named Barbara, and I really connected with her. She became kind of like I would say like a community auntie figure to me in a sense. And I remember one day after work, like she was helping me take out my hair and all these things, right? Like that was our dynamic. And I think it's just key people like that. And even like a professor in college with Sean, like we're key people, at least on my journey, as to like figuring out who I am and how I want to represent and what it means to be a Black woman. Because growing up, like I don't think I ever, in fact, I know I never felt insecure about like my Black identity. I think my mom did a really good job at like, pouring into, well, I would say, pouring into us that way. That's my experience. I can't speak for like my other sisters, but
For sure.
I don't think, most of my journey toward like what I felt like what it was to be a Black woman didn't come till like didn't come till college. Family trauma.
Just like, what was that kind of dynamic?
Growing up with 5 other siblings.
I'm a middle child, so anybody who's a middle child kind of like knows what that is.
That's me.
And like, the reality is like when you're being adopted, it's not generally from like positive circumstances, And so there's just, every baby that's adopted, like they might be healthy and happy, they might not be that healthy. And so you have different siblings who struggled with different things or had different, everybody has life navigation that they have to figure out. And I think being a middle child and having and siblings that like struggled with certain things at certain times. And some who still do have certain struggles. Like I think that took away from some of the attention that I felt like I needed as a kid. And even like the emotional piece, like I used to be very not emotional. I remember one time somebody calling me like cold, or just like maybe not calling me directly cold, but saying like, you come off as very cold, right? And it wasn't until like I was able to kind of do my own therapy work that I was even able to like open myself up to emotions. But I don't feel like that was something that I did in childhood. I think I kept everything in. Like, in fact, I know I kept everything in. And so, yeah. And then like parents divorcing, like that's never easy. And it's during teenage years, and teenage years are super crucial for a lot of people and already challenging for a lot of teens. And so you add that layer onto it, like that wasn't fun. And it wasn't like they just divorced because it was like, oh, we don't like get along anymore. There was like a whole affair and all these things. And so it was like this whole thing. And
Complicated.
yes, very complicated. And it created some dynamics within like, like just relationships that I guess are in a better spot now, but like that needed to be mended. And it took years to get to like, I would say where they are now. So
Yeah.
Wow.
I have two questions as well. One about your identity of being like an adopted person, and my other question is like, where are you and your siblings at right now? Like, are you guys close physically, and then also like emotionally, are you friends and all of that?
So my identity as an adopted person, I never grew up like feeling like adoption was like this big like trauma for me. Having the clinical lens I know like that I have now, and being emotionally aware of myself now, I definitely recognize it as like a trauma thing. And so, like I said, growing up, not an issue. Later in life, as I'm trying to navigate it, brought up a lot of things. Yeah, and like even just me getting in contact with my birth family was not necessarily my decision. It was something that was kind of put on me, and learning to navigate that was very challenging. Like any of my friends and siblings who are along for that journey, like know how challenging that was for me. And now it's in a beautiful spot, and I can't even like, we made it, we're good. But like that was its own thing. So
wow.
Yeah,
you met
growing
your
up,
birth family.
yes. So growing up, adoption was like a non-issue for me, but adulthood, it became an issue.
Yeah.
Not even an issue, just a challenge to navigate.
For sure. Yeah.
But then my siblings, like where we're at, I would say like we're all good. I think that I have two siblings, and I wish that they were doing better than what they are. But I do understand, like, everybody has their own struggles, and just we're all dealt different cards. But like I hang out with like my oldest sister the most. Like we're always chatting and talking, and she lives out of state, so I'll go visit her when I can. But like we're going on a trip together in September, which will be fun, and keeping in contact to get all that planned. And then my brother, that's like 7 months older than me, so we went to school together our whole lives, and in the same grade our whole lives, but we never had the same classes together. I think we've had 2 classes together our whole schooling.
Wow. Okay.
And our parents did that on purpose. So, but we used to like, after my parents divorced, him and I, because it was our senior year, we didn't want to like start at a new school. And so him and I lived with my aunt and uncle for our last year of high school. And that was like, I think there was a closeness and then a distance, and a closeness and a distance, because like we were both grieving just our whole changing family dynamic. And yeah, I think we definitely saw things differently and process things differently, where I am very much more of a like, you hurt me, shut off, and I'm not going to talk to you type of person. And I think he was coming from a spot of like feeling like he maybe needed to engage. And but it wasn't until, I don't even know. There was just a point where it's like our relationship shifted and changed, and like we actively hang out now. And like he comes and joins me with my friend groups. I'll join him with his friend groups, but like he comes and so it's good. Like I like with my birthday coming up, like I said, like I invited like all my closest friends, and he also was part of that invite because he is like a friend. And then my little brother, he's good. He's doing his own thing. He's got his own little family. and got my nephews, and that's fun. And so yeah, like I'll go hang out with them when I can. I'm supposed to go camping with them this summer, and time keeps passing. I said July, and now it's July, and I have something else every weekend, and it just
it's so hard. It's very difficult.
Yeah, so everybody's doing what they're doing, and I would say the relationships are as good as they can be. And I do think the two in the middle, because we're all like in the same part of life where it's like we're single, we're here, we're doing our own thing, like we just connect the most.
That makes sense. I had a thought when you were talking about being adopted and the dynamic within the home. And we don't have to like dig deeper into this. I just wanted to say this because I was like, wow, I can't imagine. Okay, you know how we talk about like generational trauma?
Yes.
And how there are things that you experience, or maybe you have like the struggles that you have are because of what happened in your family generationally, like way before you, and you may not even know what happened, but if has affected you. Yeah,
it's in your genes.
I was just like, we are all from one family, and that's a lot. And then to bring 6 kids from completely different families and completely different lines of generational trauma. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, no, that's something we always talk about, is like sometimes when people adopt, and especially like a baby, they think they're getting like this blank slate, if you will, but it's like you're not. Like,
not at all.
These things are interwoven in, and there's just so much that comes with it that needs to be considered. But and even when it comes to like our bio family relationships, like I am the one who has like I am going to say the best relationship with my bio family. I do go out and see them every single year. We keep in contact. We're texting. There's phone calls like throughout the year. And I feel very blessed to be in that position to have those things, because it wasn't easy to get to this point where it is easy to have these conversations and go out and visit every year. Like every trip was its own like journey and hurdle. I remember the first time I went out, like I literally had so much anxiety on the plane ride. I like was in my seat crying, and it was awful, and I was like trying to hide because nobody's trying to cry on a plane, right? But but yeah, like, and I do think of that, like when I think about like just my siblings, and it's like, when you love somebody, you want the best for them, and you want to see them succeed and soar. And I think also as a therapist, my lens of things is what it is. And so I think it has given me more empathy, with more knowledge of adoption and things like that. It gives me more empathy toward the positions that like they're in, or the things that they're struggling with, where it makes sense as to like where people are in the places that they're at. We can look at all the trauma and be like, oh, this is so awful, and it's coming from both sides. But there's also trauma that gets to be avoided by, being adopted,
For sure.
like certain struggles that like my birth mom was still having after she had me, and like things that like my birth brother and birth sister like had to navigate as well. I did not have to be exposed to those things. I was able to be in like a stabilized environment. And like, yes, there's this genetic intergenerational trauma aspect of it, but like the environmental trauma of what would have been in that case, like I did not have to deal with. And then vice versa, like even the family that I was adopted into, right? Like I don't have that genetic tie. I don't necessarily have to deal with like certain depths of that intergenerational trauma either. So
Great silver lining.
Then tell us about your journey and what led you to therapy.
Okay. Yeah. So when I first went to college, I had no idea what I was doing. Thought I was going to be a nursing major. And like everybody was like, I just want to help people. And I really loved kids. So I was like, I want to be a pediatric nurse. And I got down to SUU, bless them. I was there for a semester. I literally had no idea what I was doing. Math and science were not it. I remember like just not, there was my math class and my science class. I could not. And I was like, this is literally all of like nursing. It's math and science, like not for me. And I had my CNA, but it was like, I just couldn't. And so came back, regrounded, was living with a friend, and I was like, what do I want to do? And it was actually like my brother's wife at the time was like interested in social work for herself. And so I started looking into it, and, was like, oh yeah, this is like definitely more my speed of what I want to do. And then, going through the bachelor's program, and this is when I like had joined like BSU for the first time. Like I did a little BSU down in SUU, but it was like not actually joined. And so at UVU, like I was summoned one day on campus and they're like, hey, come join us. And I did. And that honestly, like, I guess was the start of my, I guess more so journey into like my Black womanhood, but got involved down there. And I was definitely more in this like social justice oriented headspace and wanting to go into like policy stuff when it came to social work. And so when I went to grad school, I had like signed up. My like focus was forensic social work. And so that is more just like criminology and things like that.
Yeah.
And had done my practicum at Decker Lake Youth Center. And I was working with like teenage boys. And for anybody who's unfamiliar, like secure care, the way I look at it is like jail is like DT, where like secure care is like prison. And so some of these people, in fact, all of them have like felony charges, and some of them were going right to the adult prison system after they hit 18 or 21.
Yeah.
But it was kind of there that I started to enjoy therapy more instead of just like the, I guess, policy aspect of things. And after that, like my first job after grad school, I was working at this one agency and was working with youth in foster care. And it was like all therapy all the time, you know. And of course, that was its own journey as you're learning things. It's like trying to learn how to be a family therapist, but like not having families that want to participate in therapy was crazy. And so then at a different job was where I really learned more about like family therapy aspect of things and got used to that. But that was also where I started seeing like just more adopted youth coming into care and needing more resources. And I just started looking at like just that pattern and got curious, which led me to kind of where I'm at now, where, you know, looking at these transracial adoptees, recognizing all these different layers of grief and identity and whatever else that comes with this adoption identity, started me to do private practice.
Okay. And which led you to Focal Point?
So actually, the focal point piece, there's layers to it.
Yes.
So Brandon is my colleague and friend. So we went to undergrad together. And, you know, during that time, it was actually after undergrad, him and I like started having these conversations just about our different experiences as transracial adoptees and growing up. And recognizing like what are some of the gaps that were there. And we really were like, well, how do we get back to our community? And at the time we were having conversations with another friend at the time who was also a transracial adoptee. But you know, they went a different path as far as like what they wanted to pursue. And so, like we sat down and we just kind of created Focal Point, and it really started as like a educational element. But we were trying to do that while both work our jobs. And then I moved to private practice. And then he moved to private practice like a year later. And then because we were still doing some Focal Point stuff together, we just merged everything together. And so that's kind of where we're at now. Yeah.
That's amazing. And what kinds of populations do you see at Focal Point?
So our niche clientele is, you know, and we say niche because that was the inception, you know, and that's like our specialized whatever, is our transracial adoptees. But we also serve a lot of the LGBTQ community. We also serve, I mean, it's largely BIPOC in our office. I'm not going to say it's all BIPOC, but it is largely BIPOC, you know, and so I would say that's our clientele, like families and just individuals.
Okay. A really safe space for minorities and for Black mental health. To be prioritized.
And all of our team right now is BIPOC therapists, you know, so we've got 3 of us Black clinicians there. We've got Sane, who is Pacific Islander, and Claudia, who's Hispanic and Spanish speaking. And, you know, like that wasn't our plan, right? But that's just what it was that happened. And, you know, we're grateful for it because we do recognize that just like, you know, mental health within BIPOC spaces is stigmatized, and the importance of representation in such vulnerable spaces is really important.
100%. And you have to model that by having these clinicians who would understand more directly because they are part of the BIPOC community, which I think is really, really cool. So tell us some of your favorite things about being a therapist, and then maybe some of the tougher stuff.
Favorite things. Honestly, I like seeing the journey with my clients where it's like, you know, they come in and they're already in this really vulnerable state. Sometimes they feel like there's no hope. I don't know what I'm doing. And you start to see the progress that they are trying to make, you know, like if they have like trauma or if they have depression, and it's like, you know, you start processing things and working on things, and you start seeing them coming out of that depression, you recognize less triggers, you know, they're able to like function better in certain environments. And so when you can start to see that progress, it's really cool. I even had a client message me last night, and they were just like, I spent the last 25 minutes in the mirror just giving myself affirmations, and I finally feel like my headspace is calm. You know, where they're like, usually I can't silence the noise.
Yeah.
And so it's just things like that where it's like, okay, we're talking about these things and they're implementing them and it's helping them.
Yeah.
Like, I really love to see that. Another thing I think is so fun about therapy is like, I don't know, like sometimes when people think of therapy, they're always like, it's so serious, but it's not always this like deeply serious space. Like there is laughing that happens that's going on, you know, you're joking about things, there's humor involved, and it like lightens the mood, but also, I mean, it's part of the process. We don't heal without laughter. And so, just, you know, the random stuff that comes in. And honestly, like, I mean, I mentioned Love Island at the beginning. I had multiple sessions this last week where Love Island was brought up by the clients, and we would sit and go back and forth about it. And it's
I
just,
love
you know,
that.
so.
No, the therapeutic relationship is super, super important. So you do have to kind of have banter and other things that kind of connect you to your clients.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love to have a hoop and a half with my therapist. Like if I can't giggle, kiki with my therapist, you gotta go.
Right.
No, and
so true.
I definitely have had therapists where I'm kind of like you, like around my cold, like, you know, walls up and, you know, whatnot. And if I don't have a therapist that I feel like wants to connect with me, wants to like get to know me, I'm not going to open up to you. So I love kikiing in that therapy room.
Yeah. So I would say those are my favorite parts about it. Least favorite? Notes. Always going to be the documentation.
100%.
And then I would say, I mean, and I don't think this is like, I don't know if this is the least favorite part. I'm being empathetic to the clients, but like when you come to therapy, you're paying for it and you want to like see progress. You want to change your life. Otherwise, why are you in the office? And so then it's like when there's a barrier that's like causing them to not, you know, put in work outside of office or whatever it is, like that to me sometimes is my least favorite part, because it's like, okay, we've been at this for this long and we're not seeing change. Like
it's
what's happening?
ethical.
And,
for you to be the one that's considering like, okay, like, is this beneficial for the client or am I just keeping them for financial reasons? No, it's ethical. I love it.
So we need to always check in with the treatment plan, and that's something I really like doing with my clients is like just going back over like, all right, this is what you came in wanting to work on, and this is what we've been doing, like what's working, what's not. Do we need to pivot so that it is more effective for you?
Did you have to get your supervision license?
No. Well, yes, but no. So like, because you're an MFT, right? So our stuff is
different.
Yeah, I'm an LCSW. So our stuff is all different. The way my path to being able to being able to supervise was I just had to have my L for 2 years. And then go for there. So
that's actually much easier.
Yes, but with all this, like, I mean, Doppel's trying to decide what the supervision requirements and laws and all this stuff are. And they had said, like, there's going to be this course and there's going to be this thing and this has to be followed. But then they haven't written the rules for it. So everybody's kind of just waiting.
No, for sure.
She's one of those.
She's one of those people.
Great time.
Doppel.
But yeah, my whole office is social workers, and so that also makes it easier. I don't have to like go out of my way to be like, let me check your licensure and what requirements you need for supervision. And
make it easier for yourself, honestly, for sure. And then I had one other question in relation to like your journey to becoming a therapist, because you've really dabbled in a lot, like working with teens in the criminal justice area, and then working with the transracial adoptees. I wonder, and this is a question that people love to ask therapists, right? Like, do you ever get triggered, or do you have a way of like being able to like help yourself if something feels like heavy?
So I don't feel like I get triggered. I really don't. Like this whole like stone cold whatever thing. Like it's good for, you know, keeping things in and also not putting things out. And so I don't feel like I get triggered by my sessions and by my clients. I'm trying to like think about anything that, I guess my first work experience was like very unconventional, and well, stuff happened that was very unconventional. And as like a baby therapist, and in this whole situation, and that was triggering for me. And I didn't realize how triggering it was for me until like later.
Yeah.
And then it was something I had to like talk about in my own therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, like, no, I feel like I've had a good separation of like,
Good.
this is my client stuff, this is my stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and not taking work home with me. I think the space where I mean, you know, I had my meeting today, and I think a space where I need to improve, whoops, Mike, is like concern for my clinicians. I do worry about them.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
I think I guess that's different. So
No, absolutely. I feel like something that I've noticed is when you sit with someone, even in their worst pain, all you're doing is just focusing on them. Like the empathy just comes out, so you're not really in your own.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you're just kind of offering that energy. So even if you worked with teens who were convicted of these crimes, like you were probably just there with them.
Right.
You weren't thinking about yourself. You were just like
Right.
like hearing their life story. You know that phrase that's like, when you know someone, you love them. That's exactly how I feel. Like, I can't be mad at you because I understand exactly what you've been through and what you mean. Like, how you got here and all of that. And so I just feel like empathy kind of plays a big role in being able to differentiate yourself and not be so.
It does, because it's not my job to get like emotionally invested in their stuff. It's my job to help them with their emotions through it. And so I definitely, like, you know, you have empathy for your clients, and of course you want the best for them. And I'm not going to say I like don't think about them outside of session, but like I guess the thoughts about them are not. They're not like, oh my gosh, they're struggling so bad, and I'm like feeling it. But like, no, it's not that. It's just like, hey, I hope they're
in the
okay.
moment stuff, and then you gotta go.
So we're gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about your business. So what made you want to start a business?
Honestly, I don't know. If that's my real answer.
Looking back,
it's chaos. No, honestly, like when I don't know, just seeing that pattern of like adoptees and transracial adoptees coming back into residential care, I was just like, what is, like, let's fill the gap here, and how can I just serve my community in this way? And so I don't know, just like I mean, my I'm gonna call her mentor. LaShawn was in private practice, and I was like talking to her about it, and she actually helped me just like get everything lined up and set up so that I could start private practice. And essentially it's like just this another way to, you know, take care of myself, provide myself an income, but also do it with a population that I very much feel passionate about. And working for yourself is easy. Doing a group practice is not. And I don't think that was ever the plan. Like, I had somebody reach out to me that was like, hey, like, can I come work under you? And I was just like, maybe not yet, because I'm not necessarily set up for that. And then it kind of came up again, and I was just like, yeah, like, let me get set up. And so that's what I did. And then even me and Brandon merging everything together, like, that was, I think we were kind of at like a fork in the road of just like, we were both feeling tired of trying to like fulfill both things. And we just were like, are we splitting or are we combining? And we decided to combine. And so that's kind of how we got there. But I guess for me, like, my intention was never to have a group practice. But that's where it came. And it's funny when I think back about like just my own hopes and wishes and dreams in the world. Like, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, like just scarcity mindset and how that stops us from doing certain things. And I prefer reliable and predictable and consistent. And when you are working in private practice, it is none of those things. Some months you have, you know, high income and client flow, and some months you do not. And like just a scarcity mindset and just limiting beliefs that I had that I wasn't necessarily aware I had until it came screaming at me, you know, kind of held me back from just like doing more. And so when I was able to kind of like work through some of those things in my own work, I think it just like, I don't know, it's just almost this natural progression for me where it just was like, all right, I'm ready to do this, and I feel moved to do this, and let's do it. And we did. So I really, and I do say that, like, I don't think I would be like where I'm at today, like, without the work that, you know, we put in that space. And you know, just like friends and family that were along for the journey. Like, my friends have seen me through all the seasons, and like they know some of that stuff was not easy, and but I'm grateful and blessed to be like where I'm at today, especially like we were again reviewing finances and talking about like where we were at last July and where we're at this July, and it's like significant difference because of all the work that's been put in.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love that. So why the focus on transracial adoptees and Black mental health?
Mm-hmm. So just my own journey to like Blackness and understanding that for myself. And honestly, I feel like growing up in a predominantly white space, you don't get to avoid your Blackness. Like you're kind of just thrown into it.
Yeah.
And so, like that was kind of what got me more interested in Black mental health. I think that was just a piece and part of my identity that needed to be navigated and understood more, especially in context of like the adoption piece. And race and culture are two different things. And the culture I was being brought up in was not Black culture, Black culture.
Yeah.
And like, but like when people are treating you in a way or addressing you in a way that is simply because you are Black, like you have to start to understand it, And so I don't know, like I just think those experiences, and because it's a part of my identity that needed to be explored, I just really got passionate about Black mental health. But the adoption piece came into play simply because I am a transracial adoptee.
Yeah.
And so again, like what that means is like these are kids of one race being adopted into a home of another. And a lot in Utah is Black kids being adopted by white parents. And like I said before, like my adoption piece was not the hardest part of like my upbringing for me. And I honestly don't think my race piece was either, but I also think I was a kid who operated in high anxiety and just focused on what I could, not what was like, not maybe what I could have focused on. But yeah, like I just lost my train of thought. It's gone. But yeah, like just because that is my identity.
So you felt most connected to?
Yeah, I felt most connected to it, and also just like again doing like this research on transracial adoption and things like that, and what's really going on underneath. I was just like, this is my community. How do I get back to it? And I don't know. It's just more complex than what I think a lot of people think that it is.
Yeah.
And deserves more recognition and voice than what it's been given.
Yeah. I love that.
I'm really curious. I don't know how to phrase my question, but I kind of have a lot of questions. You don't have to answer all of them, but I'm gonna word vomit. So, like, one, transracial adoption. Do you think it's like a bigger deal in Utah because of the culture here?
Utah is the number one state for transracial adoption, highest rate.
Really? That's crazy.
What I attribute it to is Utah is a very family-centered state.
Yeah.
And within the, like it's a very family-centered state. And I think certain aspects
you can say
of that.
it. You can say it. Yeah,
I think just like certain, religions in the state also very much press family.
Yes.
And so whether it's through having your own natural child or through adoption or whatever it might be, like that is what the hope and expectation is. That's what we're, yes. Yeah. And so, that's just what it is. We're a very family-centered state, and it's like whatever way you can grow your family, like, I think a lot of women don't feel complete unless they have children. Yeah. And when you cannot bear your own naturally, like it's just normal to go that route. But fun fact, don't like this fact, it is cheaper to adopt kids of color than it is to adopt white kids.
That's crazy.
That's a lot. Oh my
That's also a contributing factor, I would believe.
Do you feel any resentment towards I guess just specifically to Utah, resentment towards facts like that, and also kind of the white saviorism around adoptee? And do you feel like that, I don't know if this is too personal, you don't want to answer, if it like touched your family, or you felt like that was kind of the energy, or if you felt like...
I don't feel like within my own family there was a concept of like white saviorism. That's like never the impression I've ever got from my mom. She very much is like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, like that's not her MO. I cannot say that for others. I think that it's hard, like, because we can sit here and label things as like white saviorism or label as this or that, and like when you're in it, and
It's
you're the
different.
person, you don't feel like that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I've definitely interacted with people where it's like clear that there's a concept of that there for them. As far as just like Utah, I didn't, I mean, yes, I hold resentments to the systematic aspects of the adoption process. And so, I mean, we, so we're doing this training right now, and part of the training, we were talking about like some of the stuff with bio moms and just like the approaches of like some of these approaches when it comes to the adoption industry. And some adoptions are ethical and some practices are just not ethical. And there's not a lot of like oversight and regulation for these things. And so, you know, when you are in a sense like poaching these like, you know, single moms who are struggling in whatever circumstance they're in and offering them money to do X, Y, and Z so you can get this baby and all these like all it's just crazy to me. And so I do think I hold resentments in that regard to the system.
But not personally.
Yeah, not personally. And then as far as just like, you know, individuals who are in the space that maybe are exhibiting aspects of like that white saviorism, sometimes there's just a lot of education to be had. And that's why we created Focal Point in the first place, was to be able to have some of these hard conversations. Like, yes, create a space for our adoptees, but also like, you know, you have to educate these parents. They need help so that their kids can thrive. And honestly, like, I've always kind of said, like, if we're a family first state, then we need to be more transparent in adoption so that we can keep these families together. Because a lot of families who do adopt kids, like, their adoptee children don't talk to them anymore. You know, there's strains in the relationship. Like, some of these kids who are adopted end up right back in the system and adopted again, and just to be placed right back in the system, you know? And so, like, if we really were about like families and adoption really was like this family-centered, child-centered intervention, like we would be more transparent. But because there's money to be had, you know, and the question that was posed to us in this training too was like, you know, if you ever want to know if a place is like ethical or not, or like, you know, should be questioned or not, like just look at like where the money's going, you know. And because there's a lot of money that happens in adoption, like to adopt is not cheap at all. You know, I think that the system will keep going because somebody's profiting. And, you know, people are continuing to be harmed. But it's one of those. And I'll go backwards and interject. Like, when it comes to parents, I do have a lot of empathy for the parents that come to our office because they are also, in a sense, like victims to the system. Where, again, like if we're not giving proper knowledge and education and we're consenting to X, Y, and Z, like we're consenting falsely in a sense. And so a lot of the parents that have called us, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad we found you guys. Like, oh my gosh, we're at our wits' end, we don't know what to do. Or it's like, I didn't realize how much like race was going to be a thing when it came to my kid's adoption. And just, you know, like they were not adequately prepared, and that's not necessarily their own fault. You know, I think that people say like, oh, if you're adopting a Black kid, like make sure you lotion their skin, make sure you take care of their hair. But it is like so much more than that. And that is the thing. Like our hair was always done. We always had lotion on. And yet there was these cultural, like racial mirror pieces, like things like that that were missing. And even having conversations about like how to navigate when discrimination or racism was happening and even being aware of it. You know, like those aren't conversations that you think to have as a white person generally, because like I mean, why would you have to, you know? And so I think I was reading something yesterday that said like 70 something percent of white people only have white friends. And, you know, like the rest of us, like those numbers shift and vary, where we do have, you know, some more people that are outside of our own racial or ethnic background. And, you know, like I've had parents call in where it's like, and I joke about this literally all the time, but it's like when you call in and I do ask you like what type of racial like representation does your child have, and your answer is like, oh, like we have this sister-in-law who, you know, married into the family that's like Hispanic. Like I hear that a lot actually. And it's just like, that's it. Like your Black kid's racial mirror is your Hispanic sister-in-law, you know? And so
also, I feel like there's a lot of like weaponized incompetence that comes into play, and like a not manipulate, but like in
It's unintentional.
how do you
subconscious?
like
maybe.
being naive to the fact that like your child needs more than that? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
So I think there's like, I mean, I don't actually know how I behaved as a child. I was just there.
Mhm.
But I don't feel like I've ever been like that black person, that black child who was afraid of black people or got nervous around black people. Like that was just not me.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of black kids who do get nervous around black people because they are never around black people. And I can only say, like, again, back to this, like, you know, white people only have like 70 something percent of like, you know, their group is like other white people.
Mhm.
You, I guess, are nervous around what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was being fed the same messaging about blackness. I mean, granted, my mom did what she did, right? I was being fed the same messaging about blackness as my white peers were, as my Hispanic peers were. And as we know, like, that's not often good, like, you know, and so all these stereotypical things that like I was taking in and my friends were taking in, like, that's the same stuff my parents were taking in.
Mhm.
And when that is your view of blackness, and then you adopt a black child into your home, like you're doing yourself and your child a disservice. And so, I mean, I'm not telling every family to like go move to a more diverse place.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of clients where they've like switched their kids' schools because like their kid needed to be in a more diverse school to like function, you know. And these parents, like I find it, I'm going to use the word irresponsible, to adopt a black child and not actually have any like black peers in your friend group or anything. I think most people that are like looking to adopt are just literally like, we want to expand our family, we want to be like helpful, we want to provide a home for a child. And I love that. And also, you know, I like this concept of like, oh, it's about love, it's about love, like, you know, love is not enough
Nope.
in some of these
Never,
cases. Like
Mm-mm.
I say, if it's about love for you, your love needs to come with more psychoeducation. Your love needs to come with you getting out of your comfort zone so that you can provide your child with what they need. And so if I just think that I can just love this child and then all things are going to be great and good, like you're in for a rude awakening. And that's the same with like, you know, those who have adopted children out of foster care, where it's like, you know, we're just going to shower them with love. And again, we get these calls from parents where it's like, you know, like they will admit, like, I was naive and I was thinking this way, and this is what we're dealing with now, and we need help, you know. And so, yeah, I do have empathy for the parents because they weren't adequately prepared or given the necessary information that they, I think that they should have been given by adoption agencies and things like that.
Yeah. Well, adoption isn't about you. It's about the kid. And so it's not just about love, and you should be willing to do whatever it takes to help that child succeed in life and feel comfortable in their identity, especially if it's not one that matches yours. And I do wish that there was, like you're saying, it's almost like not like, it's not actually consent, it's wrong. What'd you say?
Just like informed consent, right?
Consent.
Like they're consenting to something that they're not
That they
fully
don't
informed
know.
on.
The comment that I wanted to make earlier, kind of taking it back to transracial adoption and kind of these parents who are also victims, I think another way that they're victimized is by not by how race and racism have been seen as like taboo topics, if that makes sense. Like there is no way white families had enough courage to bring up these conversations with each other so that if I had a white daughter who went to adopt black kids, she has enough or a little bit of knowledge about other races or just like black people, right? Like that, they just weren't having conversations to begin with, and they were also robbed of the opportunity to really know, to really be connected with other people who are different than them, because it's kind of taboo, like sex or whatever else. And this is something that really like triggers me all the time, but this idea that white people aren't doing the work to heal from their personal generational trauma in terms of race. Like, are they looking at their great great uncle or grandfather who was a slave owner? Are they thinking about what did he pass down to me? Are they thinking about biases that might still be there? Like, I feel like black people and other like just BIPOC people in general, like we dive into generational trauma. Like
If you talk to most adoptive families, they will tell you that they had to cut off certain family members due to some of these racist ideologies and behaviors.
Wow.
And it sucks. Like, I mean, I was
Yes.
having a conversation with a friend the other day talking about interracial relationships and
Mhm.
how that takes a different level of like tenacity and whatnot to be able to navigate that, because it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like if your family happens to have racism in them,
Yeah.
and there's conflict there, it's like now you're asking your partner, and your partner's also having to separate from their family. Like that sucks for them because that is their family of origin, right?
Yeah.
But then also it's like having the patience to have conversations about race with somebody all day long. Well, not even all day long, but you know what I mean?
So
Like I
hard.
think that
Every
that takes a different level of
Thanksgiving,
patience.
like yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think that it's so sad because a lot of white people are scared to talk about race, and they also think they don't need to because they love the colorblind ideology. They want to believe that everyone is equal. They want to believe that if we don't see color, then everyone can be equal and everyone can have the same opportunities. But it was never that way.
No,
And
ignorance is bliss. And
Yeah.
the
To
unfortunate
them.
thing is like
No, truly.
when we know different, it's like uncomfortable to do nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Yeah.
if I keep this mindset of like being colorblind and there's not really an issue or I don't see color, like I don't have to put action toward it. And action is hard. It's a lot. Like there's an emotional strain that comes with it too.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people are able to face that.
It's also about like what it's like being a businesswoman, especially being a Black businesswoman, and in Utah. What that space is like.
It's been fun, honestly. Like when we first started, I think I very much was like adoption spaces, Black spaces, adoption spaces, Black spaces, and you know, I was looking at, you know, we look at the racial identity development model as well, and I think like at different points in my journey in that, like where I was at for things, and now it's different because it's like I am in more white spaces now as well. You know, like marketing, just interacting with people, things like that, and it's been really good. But yeah, to be a Black business owner, I mean, I think it's cool. Like you know, when I really sit down and I really think about it, like there's a lot of pride that comes with it, where it's just like I'm really grateful to be in this space, and I'm proud of myself for getting to this space. And you know, like I think that one of our pathways to, I guess, freedom in a sense is to like work for ourselves.
Yeah,
so true.
And
Amen.
I think that there's so much power in that. And honestly, like in the spirit of like liberation and the spirit of like just, I mean, all those things that like are like Black joy. I really love this life that I'm building in the sense that like I get to make my own hours. I get to work for myself. I get to serve the community that I want to serve, and I get support and backed by the community that I'm a part of. You know. And I think it's just a beautiful thing, and I love it. I love being a Black business owner. Being a business owner is just hard, but I like this emphasis of being a Black business owner. Yeah, I think that that's like just part of it's just Black excellence. I don't know.
I feel like you're just so inspiring, Stormy. I can tell that starting a business has not been easy at all, but you are so strong and you have such a good head on your shoulders.
Thank you.
I feel like you're so well put together. Like I could never.
I know. I'm like,
No.
oh, I hope to be.
But you know, it's funny. I was having this conversation. I don't know who I was talking to, but just about this idea of being put together and like just some spaces you have to show up as like this like extra professional, and I do. And then other spaces it's just like less professional. And even me like being in this journey of my life where it's like I want to expand and do other things. I don't want to just be like a therapist. I don't want to just be this Black woman. I don't want to just be this adoptee, you know. Like just getting more of my authenticity out and letting the chips fall where they may. And so, like I said, I'm really glad to like be here doing this and that it's like flowing kind of how it's flowing. Because I feel like a lot of this is just like more authentic to me. I don't feel like I have to be like, all right, I have to be professional and have to keep it professional. Like I'll go do conferences when I'm doing conferences, you know, but yeah, like this is me. And I think having you know, building the business and really aligning with my passions has allowed me to just be more of myself.
We wanted to talk about we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but your social experiences here in Utah, what that space has been like navigating, and white spaces and the whole social shebang.
So yeah, the white spaces. So like I said, like I was on my own. I mean, growing up, like I had like all white friends. We had like family friends that were also transracial adoptive, Black friends, and to this day, like, you know, still in contact. My girl Missy is still super great. But and then it was junior high. I was like getting more friends of color, you know, Black, brown, all the things, and that continued through high school and has just continued since. I think at this point I do have like more Black friends than like other ethnicities, but definitely still a diverse friend group for sure. And that's been good, honestly. And I think like, you know, having even just like white friends who you know, try their best to understand your experience and are valid there. I like being in spaces where I don't have to sit and talk about race and don't have to think about it. And I honestly love the friend group that I have now. Like those are not the conversations that we have to have. Yeah. So I think socially, like navigating Utah as a Black woman has been its own thing. Yeah. Like this year for my birthday, I'm like really intentional about like who I was inviting to come and all these things. Specifically because like last year I turned 30 and last year I had a whole meltdown and just like other life circumstances. And so, you know, it was like a very challenging year in its own ways. And, you know, these are the people who helped me get through that. And so this year, instead of like being in a dark pit on my birthday, like I am controlling the narrative and you know doing all these things. And you know, I was having a conversation earlier today about like just again, like whiteness pops up in the conversation, and we were kind of talking about like what is harder to navigate, like this world with white men or this world with white women. And the phrase that got used was like you know, like sometimes with white women it's like a Trojan horse where you don't actually know, like, you know, are they an ally or are they not? Did they get it? Did they not? And like, yeah. And I think last year was a Trojan horse in a way. And I remember talking to somebody else and they had mentioned like having hard conversations, like an ending of friendship with, you know, one of their white friends, because again, it's like racial stuff, you know, but yeah, I think socially, like I'm in a good spot, and socially, like there's been a lot of learning and continuing to learn. But I love the spaces that I'm in, and like I said, I'm not like, you know, I think on this identity development model or this racial identity development model, there's a space where it's like all Black everything. I'm not in that phase anymore, and I found my grounding. We're good. Everybody's good. There's bad in everybody, like you know, type of thing, and that's been good because honestly I think like I've had a lot of like safe spaces that are also white people, you know. As far as what was the other question? Friendships. Yeah, no, friendships are good. Dating.
Like, what is that?
Dating in Utah. What is that? That's the question, right? So yeah. No comment. No comment. No. It's funny. I was saying like every Black man that I've dated that is in Utah is not from Utah, and that's just what it'll be. So
there you go.
I think that in the dating spaces, I was like Black women. It's always like Black men versus Black women and whatever else, you know. But I have honestly only had good experiences with Black men, and I don't know if it's just because I stand 10 toes down for them. But like I love my Black men, and like I think that I've had just really positive experiences with them in dating. Yeah, like everybody's human and people aren't perfect, but like I don't understand this narrative of like, oh, we don't like Black men and Black men aren't checking for Black women or like whatever it is.
We're having great conversations, but we're coming to an end as well, and we wanted to ask you about what is in your self-care bag.
What is in my self-care bag? Oh my
Metaphorically.
goodness.
Really?
Honestly, like my friends. I don't know. I think, like I said, like turning 30 was like a shift for me in a lot of ways. And, you know, when I had moved and all these things, I just was like, this is my time to just curate this life that I want to live. And that was very much my theme. It's my continued theme of just curating this life that I want. If I never get married, if I never whatever, like what do I want my life to look like to be happy and feel fulfilled? And so really just like being in my own solace and like I don't know, I live on the top floor. I have a great view.
Okay,
I enjoy like lighting the candle
perk.
at night, watching the sunset, sitting out on the balcony, like
Oh my
just that type of vibe.
gosh.
And I don't know, like I haven't quit drinking, right?
Yeah.
But I've cut back a lot on drinking. I think
Mhm.
2021 me would have, you know. But like I don't know. So it's like if I want a nice drink or want to feel like I'm being fancy, whatever, like
Right.
we're putting like sparkling juice in a like, you know, champagne glass type of thing.
Right. Romanticize your life.
Basically,
Everyone's
because like who else is going to, you know?
Yeah,
Like if you want
yeah.
to buy yourself flowers, buy yourself flowers. And so that and then just like my friends, like they have gotten me to like where I'm at today. And I've definitely what's the word? I'm gonna say collected. It's not the right word, but collected like new friends
Yeah.
over the last couple years, and they've been exactly what I've needed. And I'm just really lucky. And so my self care is just like making time with them and making time just myself.
Yeah.
And I really am loving the space that's by myself. And I was joking the other day about like how I was like, I can see why people get so set in their ways.
Yeah.
And like, if a man ever tries to come into this, like, it would be such an adjustment because
For
it's
sure.
like
For sure.
the way that, I mean, people brush their teeth different, right? Like, everybody has different hygiene habits, everybody, like, all these things. And I'm like, you can't come in and disrupt my space. Like, one of the things I don't like, and I do it, but I don't like when other people do it, is if you happen to be over when I'm watching my show, and I usually watch it in silence, and then you're commenting.
Oh,
I can't stand that,
I'm a
right?
commenter. I comment
So,
day and night.
I have to pause it. If
Yeah.
you want to make a comment, I'm gonna pause the show.
No,
because
yeah.
I need
Yep.
to know what's being said.
Yep.
I also feel that with like people disrupting your space, that hurts me so bad.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
do your thing and then people are like,
So I'm like, I'm really
That's so
creating
funny.
this space that I'm like enjoying, and I'm like, I still want marriage, I still want family, and like bless the man who comes in for that because I'm
Amen.
Yes.
Amen, sister.
I love that. I love that.
Yep.
Yes. No, that's a really good self-care bag. And then anything else that you would like for people to take away? Yeah.
I guess in the spirit of mental health, like I said, it was like it's BIPOC Mental Health Month, National Minority Mental Health Month.
For sure.
That is something that, you know, mental health in a lot of communities of color is very stigmatized and not as accessible. And so I don't know, like we don't always put labels and names to the things that we're feeling in our communities, but it's okay to put names and labels to the things that we're feeling and experiencing.
Yeah.
It's okay to go to therapy. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you.
Right.
Life is hard sometimes. And I mean, some people, it seems like they just get dealt one bad card after the next.
Yeah.
And it's okay to like check in with somebody about that and navigate it and talk through it. And so I guess that would be my takeaway is like, it's okay to prioritize you. It's okay to prioritize your mental health, even if those around you don't understand it.
No, 100%. Take care of yourself. Go to therapy. We love that. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us, your story, your wisdom, your expertise. Like honestly, you did us such good service today.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, no, literally, we're walking away inspired.
Thank you,
Like we'll
guys.
just have more combos after this.
I know.
Yep.
I also feel like you make me so excited for the future. Like, I just love how you were talking about how you're intentionally curating your life and you're just loving all the little moments. So it makes me excited.
It's good. Life is good. Life is good. And it should be good. If you're not enjoying your life, you got to change some things up.
Go to therapy.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
Yay. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you guys
Stormy.
for
We're
having
so
me.
excited.
Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe, leave a comment, like, share. We'll see you in the next episode.